Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for joining me. I am, as always, your host, Tiger Paul Craven. Jordan Bowman's going to be joining me here momentarily. Got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. Going to talk recruiting. Going to preview the spring game coming up this Saturday in Death Valley. And then obviously talk a little basketball, baseball, softball to round out the show. So look forward to the show tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. A couple of things before we dive into the show tonight. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We have finally reached the 6,000 subscriber mark. So thank you to everybody out there that helped us get there and continue to share the videos, share the show, and help us to continue to grow. Hit that like button. Definitely helps us out on these live videos. And then we have the super chat feature available. We also have channel memberships. Shout out to all of our channel members. Shout out to our newest member, Edison, who subscribed right before the show tonight. So thank you so much for that, sir. We appreciate you. And don't forget, our show is presented by FanDuel, our buddies over at FanDuel, giving you the best and latest and greatest odds for all things sports betting. So go check them out over there on FanDuel and make yourself a little bit of money while making some games really interesting. March Madness is in full swing, so there is no shortage of opportunities to wager a little bit of funds and make March Madness even more memorable. So go check out our friends over at FanDuel, and we appreciate them supporting and sponsoring the show. And with that said, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. About as good as possible when you're a man with seasonal allergies in the beginning of spring. But you know, I can't have any room to complain. I mean, we're in spring ball. Spring game is coming up this weekend. We have a lot to talk about. Clemson just got a commit yesterday, so we got to talk about that too. So any chance to come on here with you and chop it up, whether I'm blowing my brains out, well, that's probably not the right way to describe it. Blowing my nose out is probably you see now I've demonetized us because now they're gonna make this a trigger warning. That's not what I meant, YouTube. I promise you, that's not what I meant. I'm blowing my nose.
The sinuses.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, I'm hanging in there. I'm surviving. We're gonna power through this one. But like I said, I don't have any room to complain. You've had yourself a week.
Yes.
I take it that you and your wife celebrated your anniversary yesterday.
We did. So thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. Rescheduled the show last night due to my anniversary, 18th wedding anniversary. So shout out to my wife for putting up with me for all of those years. And shout out to
I don't know how she did it.
But no, it was a lot of fun. I took a couple of days off work and we just kind of hung out together. So it was nice. The kid was at school and we were just, hanging out together. So it was nice just to have a couple of days and relax and kind of unwind, not do anything crazy, but just spend time together. So it was cool.
That's all that matters. And once again, congratulations. And to many more.
Yeah. Here's to 18th more. If I can manage to live that long.
You'll be fine.
I'm not that old.
No,
I'm younger than most would think, being married 18 years.
Yeah. All right. Let's give a quick shout out to the comment section before we kind of dive in. Already mentioned our newest channel member, Edison. Thank you so much for becoming a member. It really means a lot, each and every one of you that has chosen to support us on a monthly basis. So Anytime we get a new one, we gotta celebrate it, gotta recognize you. Certainly more content coming on soon to you guys, so y'all make sure to stay tuned for that. We've got
Absolutely.
here, our resident moderator, one of our OGs, and another channel member, um, talking about Chad Morris and his presser. We're going to talk about that when we kind of preview the spring game. KD is here. What's up, my man? I believe we're mutuals on Twitter, so shout out to
There you
you.
go.
Isaac, what's up? Good to see you. Another one of our regulars. Let me see. Anybody else? I think that's all that's in the chat right now. But yeah, man, we got a lot to kind of dive into. Let's go ahead and get on into it.
Yeah, let me give a quick shout out to all the channel members while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just because we had our latest channel member, Edison, stop by and become a channel member right before the show. So I just want to shout out all of our channel members: David Lowry, Arthur Moss, John Sarian, Air Mike, Adam, Clemson Football, Zachariah, Zerius Black, and our newest Edison White. So thank you guys so much for being channel members. Really do appreciate it. It helps support the show in a massive way. So thank you guys so much for that. More content to follow on that with different streams and stuff. We'll get some stuff out to you, whether it be a baseball game or what. Well, you guys might not want to watch baseball right now, but I digress. We'll get into baseball a little bit later in the show. But hey, Jordan, shout out to all the channel members. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hit that like button. And without further ado, Jordan, let's go ahead and dive into the show tonight. We got a ton to talk about. A lot of stuff going on in the world of Clemson football.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right, Jordan, spring practice is winding down. We are currently in the last week. So the home stretch of spring practice for the Clemson Tigers. They're going to essentially wrap up spring practice with a spring game this coming Saturday, 1 p.m. kick in Death Valley. It will not be televised, unfortunately, but it will happen. What the format will really be, who knows? I'm sure it'll be some sort of mix of game and situational stuff. They'll obviously divide the roster as they always do into the orange and white rosters. Typically in the past, they split the coaching staff and try to treat it as much like a game as possible. So I'm sure we'll get a lot of chance to see some of those young quarterbacks and things like that. They do have a final practice on Monday to kind of send off the team and give them their summer marching orders on things that they need to improve. But essentially the last big thing for Clemson football this spring is happening this Saturday with the spring game. So, Jordan, your thoughts on what we've heard out of spring so far? We've heard a lot, obviously, out of the quarterback room, reports out of the latest practice that was observed by media that Tate Reynolds is officially running with the twos, taking all the QB2 snaps. So it looks like he is firmly cemented himself, at least it appears to this point, as QB number 2 for Clemson, winning some reps, and Chris Vizina winning other reps. So obviously we'll pay attention to that when it comes to the spring game. The defense still kind of doing its thing. A lot of those transfers Tom Allen spoke glowingly about. Mentioned a couple freshmen too. Polo Anderson been flashing big time this spring. Tom Allen seems really excited about him. So just, Jordan, your overall thoughts on this team heading into the spring game and what we might learn from the spring game, if anything.
Yeah, that's always a question each and every year when this time of year comes. And listen, obviously the format, I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, and that always plays a huge part. But obviously, this team in particular, there's a lot of new pieces. There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of guys that we're not really sure about yet. I mean, you talked about I'll start with the defense. You have a lot of new pieces, obviously, on that side of the ball, on the defensive line, in the secondary. that you're going to be interested to kind of keep an eye on and wait on bated breath to hear kind of how they look. Because I mean, if there's anything that has kind of been underwhelming a lot of years in recent years, it's been the defensive line and it's been the secondary, especially last season. Um, so getting kind of back to being disruptive in the front seven and and also just being able to cover and being able to communicate on the back end, having guys that have length and range but can also run. That's what they feel like they have. But seeing it in action would obviously be a really really positive thing to kind of lay your eyes on. Um, I do want to hit on the unfortunate news of Courtney Kelly officially having torn his ACL. I think that's a massive hit for this defensive line. He was going to be one of your more important pieces on the interior. I mean, he had been very consistent throughout spring, and they felt like they had one. They did not rule him out potentially returning at some point during the season. So, I don't want to say that he's done for the year because you never know. But unfortunately, that is a very unfortunate hit to Clemson's defensive line depth. When you brought those guys in specifically because you were hemorrhaging some talent at that position. So, very very difficult. But I guess it'll be a good opportunity for some of the younger pieces, the Heaven Brown Schulers, the Champ Thompsons, the Mekhi Williams Lees of the world, to kind of step up and get some opportunities on the defensive line, guys that you may not expect to be the front runners in terms of starting reps. So, see how they look as well. I'm definitely keeping an eye on linebackers because of all the positions that Clemson was able to kind of bolster in the portal. Linebacker was not one of them, unfortunately, for reasons that we've hashed out a lot on this show. And no point revisiting that now. So obviously that's going to be a point of a lot of contention because linebacker play is going to be really key. It's really key in a Tom Allen defense. Obviously, you feel good about what you have in Sammy Brown, and Kobe McLeod is a guy that has played a lot of snaps at this point, and a guy that I think kind of came along last year. But behind that, Jeremiah Alexander is probably solidly third in that group as it stands right now, and then you have a bunch of unknowns, quite frankly, and that's it's not a warm. It doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies, that's for sure, because we've seen what bad linebacker play has looked like in recent years, and not excited about it, and not for lack of talent either. I mean, you've had the Barrett Carters, the Jeremiah Trotter Juniors of the world, but collectively, you've been hit or miss. So you gotta get back to really high level linebacker play at Clemson. Very very interested to see that. I don't know what are your kind of thoughts on this defense. I didn't even touch on the secondary, but I'll kind of let you talk about some of the guys you feel like are going to show out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I pleasantly surprised with all the talk from Tom Allen when it comes to these portal players, these secondary players. He mentioned Polo Anderson and those guys that have just flashed. Tom Allen even talked about using his tape as an example of exactly how you come down and assert your dominance and be physical at the point of attack. And he referenced Polo Anderson a couple times and said that he's just absolutely bought in. And when you're using a true freshman like that's tape as an example to the rest of the guys, I just love the kind of message that sends, right? That speaks to who Polo Anderson is and the mentality that he's come in to Clemson with. He came in to earn a spot and to play and to not mess around. And I just like the competitive fire that must light in those rooms to see a true freshman walk in there and impress in that way and climb through the rankings an impressive defensive coordinator like that. So it just seems like there's a lot of competitive fire, a lot of competitive juices rolling in that defensive side of the ball, and I think that only bodes well for it. If you listen to Tom Allen talk, obviously he said the defense still has a ways to go. They're not there yet, but in his words, they're closer than they've ever been since he's been here. So much more physical, much more athletic, got more length in the back end of that defense. Obviously, you mentioned linebacker. That's going to be a point of emphasis. The depth there is a concern, right? You know what you got in Sammy Brown. Kobe McLeod, when healthy, has shown that he can be a guy. But not a ton of depth at that position, and that's worrisome because you kind of feel like, specifically at the linebacker position, you're kind of one big injury away from being in a whole lot of trouble, right? So that's a point of concern. You mentioned the defensive line, and this is something that I kind of heard Grayson Mann, and talk about on the Orange Crush podcast. And David Hood was actually the one talking about the defensive line, and how Clemson used to have these dominant defensive lines, right? Like, even when we were going up against teams that the rest of the college media thought we were outmatched, right? The one saving grace for Clemson was always their defensive line. We always had NFL guys on there. We always had dudes that were going to wreak havoc. And it just feels like Clemson has not had that in quite some time. Not that we haven't recruited well, not that we haven't had some names there. You've had Peter Woods, you've had TJ Parker, you've had other guys there, but it just, the level of play, specifically at the defensive line, which used to be, I mean, you could bank on it. You could bet any amount of money going into any season, Clemson's defensive line was going to be a bunch of dogs. That's just not the case anymore. Clemson's defensive line doesn't scare anybody anymore. And that's kind of where it starts for me on the defense this year, is what is that defensive line going to do? Like, it's time for those coaches to start producing with the talent that they have. It's time for those guys to step up. And you mentioned the loss with the ACL. That's tough, but guys got to step up, man. There's talent there. There's guys there, but that level of play's got to get much better if this defense hopes to be anywhere near, where we hope the improvements are in year two under Tom Allen. So that's kind of where I'm at for the defense. The offensive side of the ball, I really don't think the spring game is going to tell us much. Obviously, we're down pretty much all of our starting wide receivers. You might get a glimpse of what the offensive line is starting to shape into, but even that is going to be kind of, you're not really going to know based off of, I don't know how they're splitting the teams. Like, are they going to go with the, splitting the team down the middle, kind of how Dabo's done it in the past, and try to make two sort of competitive rosters, or is it going to be ones versus twos? What are they really going to do? I don't know what the format's going to be, but I would like to see them just do ones versus twos, just to build a little bit of continuity within that. Whoever those first five that you assume are going to be on that offensive line. So interested to see that. Interested to see the running back rotation. Kind of who runs out there first, who gets majority of those snaps. How are they using Chris Johnson Jr.? Are there packages where he's out wide? Are they getting the ball to him in different ways? Kind of just looking at that kind of stuff. So offensively, it's kind of specific position groups I'm looking at. And then obviously quarterback, right? Everybody wants to see what the quarterbacks look like. There's no doubt about that. But wide receiver, I don't think you're going to be able to glean anything from the wide receivers play. You're going to see a bunch of freshmen and young guys that have not played football for Clemson out there. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as the spring game goes. But again, it'll be interesting to see the format and how they do it. Do they do the typical Clemson split down the middle, two teams, two coaching staffs on each side trying to win a game, or are they going to go 1 versus 2s?
Yeah, I'm interested to see that as well, and you know, uh, it's going to be, one thing that I want to see whether this transfers over into the spring game. I mean, what we've heard. I mean, one thing that was reported a lot, throughout this spring was that there have been a lot of turnovers. There have been a lot of interceptions in particular, and I want to see, how much of that has been. You just have, I mean, you have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive back end that are just creating those interceptions and creating those turnover opportunities more, or can none of your quarterbacks read the field? Obviously that's going to be a big point is, not turning the ball over. Obviously, I mean, you can't afford to. Just with this team's turnover luck in years past, I mean, you can't be that kind of team and expect to win a whole lot of games. Your margin for error is not that great that you can that you can go and do that. You don't have the talent that you used to be able to just kind of overcome those types of mistakes. And obviously, you have a redshirt junior as your presumed starter at this point. I mean, I know he's learning a new system, but if they're going to do live, real, game reps, obviously not live in terms of him like being hit, but live like real, reps, competitive reps. I mean, can't throw interceptions. You can't, and that's been a consistent theme. So I mean, that's why I'm so interested in whether it's just, man, are the guys you brought in in the defensive secondary, the Elliott Washingtons, the Corey Myricks, the Jerome Carters, like are they just that good, or
Yeah.
or is your quarterback play really truly just that bad right now?
Right.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to answer how I'm leaning towards that question, but I do think just seeing it in action or hearing about it in action will be nice, and just to kind of get a real idea of how these quarterbacks are playing from a rep to rep basis. But that's one thing that is going to be so tough to glean from this game in general is just kind of the balancing act. Okay, so this offense is, how much of, if this offense struggles, how much of it is the defense being that good, and how much of it is the offense being in that bad shape right now? Because obviously you did mention the injuries. Obviously you have three inexperienced quarterbacks, well, really four inexperienced quarterbacks in a new system, and you don't really know what you're going to get from any of them. And obviously retooling the offensive line. What does it look like at center? I mean, Harris Sewell is the presumed starter. So I mean, how does he look in that role? And because I mean, this is his year really to kind of step in and be a full-time starter now at that position. So are you snapping the football correctly? Are you and the quarterback on the same page? Are you able to make protections at the line? Are you able to communicate that kind of stuff? Obviously not all of that's going to be hashed out in spring, but that is something that you want to keep an eye on, just to see how this offensive line is progressing. So it's going to be fun, to hear the hear the reports. I mean, people are going to overreact one way or the other. If something good happens, people are going to blow it out of proportion and say, "Oh my God, if the offense scores easier than we thought it would." Either two things will happen. They'll either say, "Wow, we're back on offense," or "Wow, the defense sucks again."
Hey, maybe Trent Pierman will be the MVP again.
Why not, man? Yeah, just
QB1, Trent Pierman.
Oh, brother. Oh man, Chris Denson. Imagine Chris Denson takes like a 50-yard touchdown run to the house and something like that. Yeah, that's just what we need.
Social
Is
media's gonna be
more of
losing
that.
their minds, dude.
Yeah.
Why isn't he getting more snaps? Gotta love the spring game, man. It's always interesting, kind of how it plays out. There's always typically a guy or a couple guys that surprise you that you're not thinking about going in, and they just make a couple big plays, and you're like, man, look at that guy, he flashed. But it doesn't always translate past the spring game, right? So you got to be very careful when it comes to watching and analyzing what happens, particularly in the spring game, because it's one single snapshot of what's happened all spring. A guy can have a big explosive play, but that doesn't mean he's consistently doing the right things on a play-by-play basis, right?
Right.
Um,
Remember
so,
Jamal Anderson last year?
right, yeah,
He had an amazing spring game.
yeah, looked like an absolute beast out there. Was not the case.
Not even close.
not even a little bit. So that's just like a perfect example of flashing in one single spring game and it not translating past that. So those things happen, I think, each and every year. But I'll be interested to see who those first 5 offensive linemen are to run out there. You think you know about what it's going to be, but it'll be interesting to see the rotation, even past those 5, on how they're rotating in and out, who's playing where. Obviously, big Braden Jacobs is going to be your starting left tackle, no doubt about that. Elijah Thurman's probably your guard, your left guard, and then Harris Sewell, your center. I think they were saying Easton Ware has been doing right tackle for the most part. So we'll see kind of how it shakes out. I'm really keen in on that position group. Obviously, the quarterback, and then probably third would be running back, and specifically not really running back, but just the rotation and kind of how they use it on offense. But I expect for defense to win the day. I expect for defense to overall dominate the offense. You still got a bunch of inexperienced quarterbacks that are learning a new system, so probably gonna have some turnovers. Probably gonna have some mistakes. It seems through spring that you've had a really aggressive secondary that's done a good job of taking the ball away and being aggressive. So I don't think anybody should be surprised if the quarterback play struggles in the spring game, because I fully expect that to happen. I don't expect the offense to have like this banner day. I just don't. I think the defense will win the day going away. That's what I expect going into the spring game. So I'm not going to freak out when we're on the other side of the spring game next week talking about what happened and, the quarterback's stat lines don't look great, because I don't think they're going to.
I don't think so either. It's I'm fully anticipating a very, very disappointing looking stat line from all the quarterbacks that were.
Yeah,
to be honest
and hopefully within those stat lines you see some glimpses of what could come if it all gets put together. Right? I think that's best case scenario right now. It's not good as that sounds. Right? You're looking for glimpses of greatness within those struggles, because there's 100% going to be struggles with the offense. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and leave the spring game talk there. We'll obviously be talking about what happened and breaking it down for you next week. But in the meantime, if you guys don't know, search Clemson Live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms, wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, wherever that you consume your podcast from. Just search Clemson Live. All of our long-form videos are on there. All of our uploads are on there. You can listen to the same show right here in podcast form. If you're on a long drive, if you're working out on a run, whenever you like to consume your podcast, just make sure you're searching Clemson Live. Rate, review, subscribe over there. We would really appreciate it. Jordan, Clemson has been active on the recruiting trail, still got a latest and greatest recruit. Lots of stuff, lots of moving pieces this time of year when it comes to recruiting. Obviously, we're not far removed from the Elite Retreat weekend. We're gearing up for the big official visit recruiting weekend at the end of May. So a lot of stuff in the works, a lot of irons in the fire, if you will, for Clemson when it comes to recruiting. Coaches are, dual timing with spring practice and still staying up to date with recruits as far as texting and calls and stuff like that. And Jordan, you've been promising the people a recruiting breakdown, a visual breakdown, if you will. And I think you're ready to debut that tonight. So, Jordan, I'm going to let you take it away and give the people what they want, a full recruiting breakdown of the Clemson Tigers as we stand Tuesday, March 25th, 2026.
Well, thank you for that grand introduction. I appreciate that. You really hyped it up. But no, been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Putting together a recruiting board for you guys. It's I've got the bare bones of it right now, so that's what I'm going to debut tonight. I'm going to add more to it and make it a little bit more more aesthetically pleasing, and also add more information to it. But I'm definitely ready to kind of debut it tonight, and just kind of go through kind of the list of guys that are on the list. Clemson did get a commitment on yesterday in safety, Seth Williams. So I'll talk about him a little bit, but it's going to give a full breakdown of everybody that Clemson has offered to this point, who they visited, and all of that. So let me not waste any further time. Let me put it up on the screen. Let me know if you guys have trouble seeing it. I can zoom in a little bit if we need to, but it has everybody that Clemson has offered. It's color coded. And I've got the legend here on the right. Orange is these are the commits. If they're highlighted in purple, that means that they are offered and their official visit has been scheduled. They have confirmed they will be in Clemson either on May 29th or June 12th. There's only a couple of recruits that are scheduled for June 12th. And I have it ordered by position, state they're from, high school. I can sort it by any of those right now. But I definitely want to make it a little bit more expansive with a little bit more time, because I do like playing around with Excel and seeing what I can do. But this is the bare bones right now, and just kind of giving you a visual breakdown of kind of where Clemson sits with certain guys. Eventually, I'm going to add other notable offers and other things like that to kind of give you guys a full idea of kind of who Clemson is battling for some of these recruits. I forgot to mention that they're grayed out. Obviously, if you can read it, it says committed elsewhere. So these are the guys that Clemson has offered, but have committed to other schools, like Peyton Houston, who's currently committed to LSU, or Trent Seaborn, who's committed to Alabama. And so I've got it ordered by position group, and you can see the state, high school they're from, their star ranking, and just kind of where things sit right now. But just kind of going through it. The big thing right now when you look through this list is obviously Clemson does not have a single commit on the line of scrimmage right now. And I do think that that's going to be a really big point of emphasis when the official visit weekend comes around on May 29th. That's going to be a very, very important thing for Clemson to kind of close in on, because on the offensive line, I mean, you have 5 guys that have confirmed to be visiting in attendance. Carter Jones is a very, very big one that I feel like Clemson really needs to close the deal on. They're doing a really, really good job. I'm sure those of you that have followed recruiting are well aware of the industry predictions for Clemson for him. So I think, kind of closing and getting to the finish line with him is a big, very, very big deal. So I obviously want to keep an eye on him. Nate Carson, I've talked about him a good bit. That's going to be a tough one, obviously from Irmo. That's going to be very difficult. That's Gamecock country, right outside of Columbia. And you're battling a lot of other schools as well for him. But obviously I think it's the Gamecocks are going to be a tough pull for him. And Peyton Miller, from Texas, is another one to keep a really, really close eye on as we get closer to official visit weekend. kind of looking on the other side of the ball on the line of scrimmage, you got, again, you don't have anybody committed at the moment, but you've got several guys on the defensive line at edge and on the interior that you really need to, kind of, close the deal on, and maybe potentially get a few of these other names to add their name in the hat in terms of attendees for the official visit weekend. But right now, you've got Jaden Worth confirmed to be a visitor there from Dutch Fork. Obviously, Dutch Fork, another school in Irmo, South Carolina, that we're all well familiar with. School of Antonio Williams, Will Taylor, and other notable players that have come through the program. But again, very much a Gamecock-centered school. A lot of Dutch Fork kids end up going to South Carolina. Doing a really good job with Jaden Worth right now. But again, it's getting him on campus and getting him to close the deal. Caleb Spivey from Alabama is another guy that I think Clemson is really going to have an emphasis on trying to land and kind of get into the fold. So another one to keep an eye on. Seth Tillman. You're kind of noticing a trend. Clemson has really gone hard in the Columbia, Rock Hill. Columbia and Rock Hill, two Gamecock strongholds. So in this case, with Seth Tillman at South Point and Rock Hill. So again, another one that I think is going to be a tough pull. You're going to be battling the Gamecocks for his services. Very, very tough to swing a defensive lineman from that area from going to the other in-state school. But I think they've done as good a job as anybody in his recruitment. So another one to keep an eye on. So line of scrimmage, I think when you look at this class as a whole right now, I think that's got to be the most important thing. That's got to be priority number one right now. You have a linebacker. We've talked about linebacker recruiting, but you do have 2 linebackers committed currently in the class. So right now, I think it's about getting those big dudes on the line of scrimmage, because ultimately, that's going to be what makes or breaks this program in the future. If you really are serious about getting back to the top, it's got to start with the line of scrimmage. It's got to start with winning in the trenches. All right. And, scrolling down, did want to hit on Clemson landing safety Seth Williams from Lakeside, Georgia. A kid that was kind of flown under the radar for a lot of really, I think in a lot of ways, was offered very recently. But, a kid, when you turn on the tape, I mean, the first thing you notice is just how rangy and long he is. Covers a lot of ground, is obviously a very smart football player, a very, very willing tackler. Just the exact type of guy that Tom Allen wants in his defenses, guys that have length. That's something that they've been emphasizing in their defensive back room to this point in time. And so getting that, in the class is a really big deal. Obviously you have some bigger fish in the safety room that you also want to go in, potentially land, along with him and Harrison Luke, Tayshawn Poole, Davion Jones, Chance Gilbert. If you can, convince him to lock down that official visit, would be huge. But I think it's a good kid to go ahead and get in the class. Like I said, one that has a lot of talent, and one that I think has the potential to, be a really, really good football player for you. Because I think he fits a lot of what Tom Allen likes in his safeties. Like I said, with the ranginess, the length, and a guy that can run. And covers a lot of space, because he is just a very instinctive football player. So very, very happy to get Seth Williams in the class. And I think Clemson is starting to kind of lay the foundation, and I think they've done a good job on the defensive side of the ball to this point. But, I think it's got to feel really good about where things stand right now with this group. I think it really needs to start with starting to to land some of those top targets on the defensive line. All right. Let me see if you guys have any sort of questions or any particular recruits you want me to mention here, because like I said, it's a lot, so I didn't want to go through each and every name on this list. Some I think are higher priority than others. Some I think Clemson has a better chance than others. Um, but yeah, I'm going to try to add more to this each and every week, and kind of fill it out a little bit more. Obviously want it to look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than it does right now, but this is the bare bones of it. So y'all let me know what kind of stuff you want me to add. I already have, like I said, I already have some ideas of what I want to do with it, but um, yeah, just kind of give you guys a visual, instead of me having to make notes for every show, and think about who I want to talk about, and all that. So it's a nice list for everybody to kind of get an idea of what Clemson is doing on the recruiting trail right now, and how things are shaking and moving. And of course, I'm going to update them when guys lock down official visits, when guys commit, things like that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you have any questions. Isaac talked. Yeah, Rock Hill area does get a lot of talent. That's been a evergreen place to go and get really high quality recruits, especially defensive linemen, defensive backs. They come out of there at a very high clip. Wide receiver. Um, it's been a very, very good place to go and get talent. So anytime you can go into that area, which is very Gamecock influenced, and has a lot of pull in that area, it's always a big deal. So let's see. John says Seth Williams is loaded with D1 offers, a lot of G5, but some notable P4 too, like over 30 offers. Yeah, I mean, and I think he's a guy that, I think part of it is just because of how obscure Lakeside is. I don't know. I mean, the team itself has not been particularly good. I think they were 3-7 last year. So they are not a very well-known program. They're not a very highly recruited program. That actually is the same school that I believe Mekhi Williams-Lee went to. So kind of another guy that we were very high on, felt was a kind of underrated coming out, because they're a very under recruited program, probably because they just haven't been very successful. But but for some reason they still managed to put out a D1 talent. That they usually have one or two players, and you're like, okay, why are they at Lakeside? So I'm not trying to slander Lakeside. Shout out. I don't know if anybody listening even
has high school right now, Jordan. You better calm down.
Yeah. I mean, it so be it. If we got somebody that has some ties to Lakeside listening, it's no shot at them, no shot at you guys, but they are not a super notable football program.
No.
Let's see. John says maybe add info on if they've made official visits. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Like official visits to other schools too. Yeah, I wonder if, and I could probably wrap that up with also the other notable offers. So yeah, definitely something to add there. Let's see. Isaac Smith says Football City, USA. Yeah. Clemson asks interesting question. Which is better, 55 exchange or handles? Well, I don't even think I ever had handles. I did. I mean, and honestly, I didn't go to 55 exchange that much because I just never happened to be over there. I mean, I think I think they took us over there my freshman orientation, and we had some ice cream, but I didn't frequent it either that much. I'm not a huge sweets person, so
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I would defer to somebody that's probably a little bit more into that, um, but it was good. I mean, 50 exchange was good. So those that don't know, 55 exchange is the ice cream shop slash make creamery that Clemson has on campus that has been student run for I guess since 1955. They tell you the story every time every time like orientation or anytime you go over there. But um, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, and hey, if those of you that don't know, Clemson is has a very dominant dairy tasting club team. They produce their own ice cream. They said that they sell in stores. Um, so if you ever been in, I mean, if you've ever been in like the Clemson area or South Carolina or even just the upstate, you'll probably find some Clemson branded dairy products in your local grocery store. So um, I always thought that was pretty cool. Even if I didn't buy it, like I was like, yeah, you get a little sense of pride there, you know. Let's see. And John says, yeah, high school football has become semi-pro too. If Raven Gap Nakushi can start producing players taken by Power Four programs. Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
Basically. Yep.
Right. I mean, and especially in some of the bigger football states, Georgia, Texas, um, especially Georgia and Texas and Florida especially have really kind of adopted or started to adopt semi-pro models. I think Georgia's probably the closest to still kind of preserving some of the old way, but even then, some of the other some of the really big programs are.
Especially Texas, man. You seen
Yeah,
some of them high school facilities, bro? Like,
yeah,
get
it's
out of here.
ridiculous, man.
I mean, Texas does high school football different. I
Yeah,
don't know what they're on over there. I don't know where they get money to build these facilities. I have no idea. But I mean, you got high schools with indoor facilities and $50 million stadium, and bro, get out of here. I don't. They do it different over there, man. They do it different. It's not the high school football that I grew up with in South Carolina. That's for sure.
no, hell no, no.
They do it way different, man.
It's not
We didn't have
not even
nothing
close.
like that. Uh, but hey,
I mean, I went to a 3A school in Union County, North Carolina. So I
yeah,
mean, like I don't not small by any means, but
yeah,
nothing compared to nothing compared to we have what you see over in Texas.
that's
It's
crazy,
kind
man.
of ridiculous.
You can't tell the difference between a high school and a college over there.
Yeah, yeah. John Buford did build a massive
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was 50 million. I knew it was pretty hefty
that's
in terms of
crazy, man.
yeah something crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
Georgia high school trying hard to catch up to Texas. They got a long way to go, brother. They got a
yeah,
long way to go. Uh, Not that Georgia don't produce a ton of football talent, but as far as facilities go, they got a long way to go.
oh yeah. All right. Well, that's the debut of the recruiting board. So like I said, gonna add to it, of course, as players. As more names arise, they'll get added to the list. Um, and obviously, I'm gonna add a lot more information as we go on. But this was a good place to start, just for everybody to get kind of a decent look at it. And again, yeah, give me suggestions on what you want to add to it, because I think could be something cool that we kind of expand upon. I'm not the first I haven't invented recruiting boards or anything like that. I know other college football shows have done that, but why not do our own?
That's right.
Just to kind of help everybody keep track, and just kind of add a little bit more depth to our recruiting segments, because I feel like it needs it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to grow and get better. Appreciate you putting that together, Jordan. I know the people really enjoyed it, and it'll grow and evolve as we get going. But guys, make sure you're checking out the Voice of College Football website. That's right, the Voice of College Football website, vocfb.com. That's vocfb.com, your one-stop shop for all things Voice of College Football. You got articles over there. You got our live show schedule. There's links to the merch and all of the above. So go check it out over there. Read the stories. They're written by people that work with the Voice of College Football. So you'll be supporting guys like me and Jordan that are over there grinding and trying to get their written analysis kind of a footing in the world of college football media. So go check it out, vocfb.com, vocfb.com. All right, Jordan, before we get into the diamond sports, let's talk about Clemson on the hardwood. Basketball, both teams made the NCAA tournament, and both teams had the exact same seed, and both teams had the exact same exit. First round exits for both the women's and the men's Clemson basketball teams. Jordan, your thoughts on Clemson's basketball season, how it went, how it ended? Was it successful? Was it unsuccessful? What are your thoughts on this version of the Fighting Brad Burnells?
Yeah, this team is going to be talked about. So, I mean, the conversation around this team in general is going to be interesting, when we look back on it. But, just in the recent aftermath of Clemson's loss to Iowa, I think one thing that I've had to remind myself is that this team they absolutely overachieved. I mean, I think in a lot of ways this was a successful season. I just think, it's not invalid to also just kind of wonder what could have been still, because while this team did overachieve in a lot of ways, you still felt like, well, I mean, a first round exit doesn't feel great still. Like you wanted to maybe win at least one. Obviously, team you lost to is in the Sweet 16, and they just beat a number one seed, so it wasn't a terrible loss, and it looks better even farther out after that loss. But at the same time, I mean, you wonder what could have been with this group. I mean, obviously, a couple of key injuries. We talked about Zach Foster going down, and obviously the highest ceiling player on the team, and Carter Welling going down in the ACC tournament in a lot of ways really handicapped you, and you saw it a bunch in the Iowa game. Just the change and how well Clemson was able to rebound and prevent teams from getting on the offensive glass. They just didn't have the size. They didn't have the presence that they did without Carter Welling.
Yep.
And it was tough for them to I mean, they fought back. They kept it competitive, but they just felt like they were always, Iowa had them, just at arm's length for a large majority of that game. And you just didn't feel like Clemson was ever going to break through and take control of that game. So, I think in a lot of ways this team was a success. There's no way to spin that it wasn't. This team he returned one starter from last year, one player from last year, essentially, that played any meaningful minutes. Right. And it's a team that was you kind of largely constructed out of the portal with a couple of freshman pieces that played some role player roles. you didn't. I did not expect. I mean, especially with the way this team started, and I think that's probably why maybe some people don't look at this team. Some of them don't look at this team as a success, and were really frustrated with how the season ended. I feel like if they had started out poorly and then put got went on a run and then secured a 9 seed or an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament, but got bounced in the first round and it basically had the same record, but just they started slow and finished fast. Like, I think people would be talking about this team a little bit differently. And I think that's kind of the frustrating thing about talking about Clemson basketball, with at least with some portions of the fan base that for some reason just think that this program is just built to win 30 games a year and be a perennial second weekend and pass team. That's just not what this it's not what this program is. That's You don't invest at that level to be that.
Right.
That to be the regular expectation. That just is what it is. I mean, and we've already had this conversation about Brad Brownell. He's a good coach, and I feel like Clemson would be. I mean, if you were to get rid of him, I mean, I don't think you would replace him with somebody better. I'm just being honest, and especially in a cycle like this where the North Carolina job just opened up. There's rumors about Kansas potentially opening up with Bill Self potentially retiring. He said he wasn't. Yeah, he said the rumors weren't true or they were BS or whatever, but. And we've heard that before.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say.
Definitely what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was disappointing at times with how they played at points during the year. But all in all, I think it was a very good season. I think the future is bright. You have a really good young core of players, between Zach Foster, if he, as long as you bring him back and, he recovers well from his ACL surgery. You bringing back Ace Buckner and Chase Thompson, Dallas Thomas, who I think is only going to get better. And I thought he played some good minutes when he did get in. Made some freshman mistakes, but you see the potential. He actually shot 58% from the field this season. In the limited minutes he played. So very, very, very promising sign. Carter Welling, Carter Welling, I don't think people realize Carter Welling has another year he can use. So if you bring back Carter Welling next year,
that'd be huge.
That would be huge. Obviously, like I said, you have a really, really, solid core of young players. Yeah, you're gonna, Dylan Hunter is gonna depart. You're not gonna bring back Justin Porter, but again, you have a really nice recruiting class that's coming in. Harris Reynolds is one of the top players in the country. I think the future is bright for Clemson basketball. I mean,
look, going into this offseason, you certainly feel a whole lot better than you did going into last offseason. Right?
100%.
You essentially had one player return from last year's team. So the fact that Brad Brownell was able to put this class together largely through the portal, and it gelled in the way that it did. I mean, they had a good run. Got a little rocky down the stretch, right after that West Coast tour that they went on. Kind of stumbled and fumbled their way in, but then had a great run through the ACC tournament. You just went up against a Duke team that there was no way you were beating, especially without Carter Welling in the lineup, and it showed with the rebound discrepancy. I think it was like 20 to like 42 rebound for them. So I mean, they just had so many second chance shots. Like, they were just a better team than you. You weren't beating them, right? And I think the absence of Carter Welling was particularly felt in those last two games, Duke and Iowa, right? And your guard play was just not nearly consistent enough this season. But you got a lot of young guys, and they're going to get better. So I think they're in a much better position going into the offseason this year than they were last. So I think it's encouraging. But again, we'll kind of see how it goes. Jordan, talking about the women's basketball team before we move on to the Diamond, Poppy and his first season with Clemson women's basketball, trying to kind of resurrect a program that has been um,
Second
just bad,
season, but yeah.
just bad. Like, just to put it very frank, just bad, right? And he turns them into a tournament team year one. They get the 8th seed, and it goes down to the absolute wire with Southern Cal. And what a crazy ending to a game that was, with the last second shot that you thought they hit and walked it off, and then suddenly it wasn't, and then there was a foul, but the foul wasn't committed until after the zeros hit. So a crazy sequence to end that game. But the second that I knew that we were going to overtime, I knew Clemson was going to lose, because to go from the emotion of thinking that you just won with a last second prayer shot to realizing that we got to go play overtime. That's just a lot to overcome. So I saw the overtime going in Southern Cal's favor, but I don't think you could have asked for a better first season.
Second season, but yeah.
Second season, excuse me, second season. My bad, second season.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think it's been a really remarkable turnaround. I mean, I think, just with all the momentum around the program. I mean, it's Clemson women's basketball historically is actually, I mean, I'm talking like I'm old enough to remember, but this program used to be pretty respected. They used to be a pretty consistent tournament team. They used to be better than the program in Columbia for most of history.
It's hard
really,
to believe at this point.
Yeah, really just until the last 12, 13 years,
Right.
that it's the script has kind of flipped there. But this is a program that you can win at, and coaches have proved you can win at. You just needed the right person to kind of re-inject some life. I think the investment in the program is the best it's been in a long time, which I'm very happy to see. I think it's only going to get better. I mean, Clemson is bringing in a top 5 recruiting class. I mean, I just seeing what they've done, what they've been able to do in 2 short years, has been really incredible. And Sean Poppy is a coach that he's a magnetic personality. He's sold the program as well as anybody. I think that's one thing that like Amanda Butler and previous coaches weren't able to do, was really kind of market the program in a way. And I think NIL and all of that has definitely played a part in
For
that.
sure.
But Sean Poppy
Yeah.
is a guy that
Yeah.
he very much knows how to sell the program and make Clemson an attractive place for
Leverages
top
social
players to
media
come.
very well.
Very much so. We're mutuals on Twitter. He's very tapped into the Clemson Twitter.
Yeah.
He's tapped in, like he follows the burners. All of that. Like
Yeah.
I've
He's all
talked to
about it.
people. He knows all about the burner verse or whatever. He's very tapped in. So I
Yeah.
always I appreciate that about him. He's very much in tune with the fan base, and I think that's important when you're a program that's really trying to build its brand again. Because for a while there, Clemson women's basketball was just very it was just kind of an afterthought, from an administrative standpoint, from a fan base standpoint. But now with the players you're bringing in, and the players that have kind of helped set the foundation. Shout out to Mia Moore, that stud. Very very thankful that she chose to come here. Um, it's only going to get better from here. Like I said, the Clemson is bringing in a ton of top talent right now, and hey, who knows? I maybe you do become good enough to maybe challenge that team in Columbia. Who knows?
Got a long way to go.
I'm not going to bank on that. You're still a little ways to go from there, but
don't tell South Carolina
things are headed in the right direction.
If they're only good sport, they'll get real upset.
Yeah, they will get real upset. If that were to happen, they would. I think they'd lose it because I mean
they might.
Their men's programs are already in the toilet, so I think that would break them.
That might be what actually mentally breaks South Carolina fans.
Yeah,
if they lose women's basketball, they're done.
Yeah,
who knows what they'll do? But shout out to Coach Poppy and the women's basketball team, and hopefully they continue to climb that mountain of success and get better.
John talks about gymnastics. Yeah, shout out to the gymnastics team winning the ACC championship.
ACC champions. Shout out to them.
Athletics is in a really good place right now.
In a tough weekend for the Tigers, the gymnastic team came through. So shout out to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to put that in perspective. Yeah, the big three, football, basketball, baseball have had their disappointing moments this year, but all in all, I mean, Clemson athletics, from a holistic standpoint, is in a really good place. Tennis is men's and women's are on the up and up.
Lacrosse,
women's lacrosse, they are very good. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch them,
extremely good, yeah,
they are very, very good. Obviously, softball, I think they're starting to find their rhythm a little bit.
They're currently beating the mess out of South Carolina 8-0. So shout out to them. So we love that. We love that very much. South Carolina still, I believe they have one win against Clemson in their history right now. In the 6 years that Clemson has had a program, South Carolina has won one game. Yeah.
In the rivalry. So, very, very, very good stuff, and cruising on their way to another Palmetto point. So
that's right. That's right. About to seal it up here shortly. Bottom of the 6th right now in that game. All right, Jordan. Let's talk about the men's baseball team. The guys over there right next door to the softball stadium and Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Man, oh man, they can't get right, Jordan. So since Clemson swept LaSalle, right? If you can remember back that far, Jordan. Since then, we have played 10 games. We've had 2 ACC series, and we have gone we've lost 7 of those 10 games. We've dropped to Georgia Southern. We've dropped a game to Coastal. We got obliterated in 2 games by Georgia Tech. And we got swept by Notre Dame. So it's been a rough go for Clemson baseball. And they just can't get right. I mean, hitting is a problem. Fielding is a problem. Pitching at times is a problem, depending on who's on the mound. Nothing really going right for the Clemson Tigers. And the news doesn't get any better. You lose Purify for who knows how long at this point in time.
Yep.
Seems that he, took a ball off the hand, and he's going to be out for what they're saying is going to be an extended amount of time. So you lose your everyday or second baseman, which that showed up last night in the Coastal game.
Yeah, very much so.
So just not a lot going right for the Clemson Tiger baseball team. Really frustrating to watch, especially last night. I don't know if you caught any of that game, but wow.
I wish I didn't.
Just wow. But thoughts? What's going on, man? Where are they going to get right? I mean, in 2 straight so since they've opened ACC play, they've gotten shut out in game 1 against Georgia Tech. They got shut out in game 1 against
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Guy pitched a complete game
and got swept by Notre Dame.
Yep.
So, you go into this series this weekend with Miami. I mean, Clemson has to win this series, right? I mean, are they even going to make the postseason at this point?
I mean, to feel good about maybe this team, scratching their way into the postseason. I mean, I think absolutely you have to. I don't think you can. This is a very important game. I mean, Miami is a good team. They're and you need that win. You're at home. There's just no reason not to win this series. If you want to, if you're serious about making the postseason, and especially if you want to get back into hosting conversation.
Which is you're so far from that at this point.
That's not what you should be thinking about. But we as fans don't have to play the game, so we have to.
Who had Clemson getting swept by Notre Dame on their bingo card? I didn't.
I did not.
I thought there was a 0% chance that was happening.
I mean, Notre Dame is kind of a unique place to play baseball wise, but I mean, you've gone up there. I mean, Bakich has gone up there, and I mean that this is the first time he's lost a series to Notre Dame since he's been here. So, I mean, I think that says it all right there. And you've gone up there and won a series. Yeah, you might drop one. That's that's happened before, but that Notre Dame team is not that good. I mean, they're certainly improved, and they've been sneakily good since the end of last season. But they're not that good that you're virtually uncompetitive, and you get swept.
Yeah, but starting ACC play 1-5 ain't the bid, and it ain't going to get any easier for the Tigers. So they better dig deep and figure out a way to start producing some more runs and making a few less errors, because that record's going to get real ugly real quick if you continue to play the way that you are.
Yeah. And last night was just disgusting, man. I really don't have many words for that that collapse. I mean, there's I mean, so many times you could have salted that game away, and one defensive error after another, two key defensive errors. I mean, yeah, the umpire should have gotten out of the way on that pop up, but at the same time, I mean, you field a routine ground ball, you're out of the inning sooner.
Right, and even on that fly ball, you can say, yeah, the umpire was definitely in the way. Right? Yeah. He should have been out of the way. But watch Crichton track that ball. Was Crichton going to catch that ball anyway? Even without the umpire being there? Like, I'm not so sure. Like, I know a lot of people are upset because the umpire was just in the vicinity, and I get that. He should not have been. However, I don't know that Crichton was going to make the play anyway.
No, I mean,
like,
he missed.
He was not tracking that fly ball well at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he makes the play anyway. So I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend like it's the umpire's fault that Clemson lost the game. They lost the game because they epically collapsed on defense. And it's just inexcusable.
It's been awful.
I mean, Coastal Carolina is not a terrible baseball team by any means, but you can't allow that to happen. No. That's just unacceptable.
If you're up 9-3, you got to win the game.
You got to win the game. You're up 9-3 in the seventh inning. You got to finish. Come on. Got to close that out. But instead of finding ways to win, Clemson baseball continues to find ways to lose. We'll see if they can get anything corrected this weekend against Miami. That ain't going to be easy either. Miami's a good baseball team.
Very good. Yep.
They've had their own issues this season starting ACC play. They're not doing well either. But, again, they're a good baseball team. So you're going to have to be ready because they're going to come in there. It's kind of a big-time test for them too, right? They got to get right and start getting that ACC record in a little bit better shape, much like Clemson. So they're going to come in super motivated trying to take the series as well. So we'll see if Clemson can score a run for the first time in ACC play in the first game. So we'll see.
We shall.
let's just score a run in the first game. Let's start there, and then we could talk about winning series. But
Man, these Friday night games have just been. I mean, what is it's
it's just
been?
bad.
I don't know what. You're at DK. You're at DKS. Like if you. Okay. Anyway, I'm not even going to let myself think about what the words that'll come out of my mouth if you play like you have the last couple of Fridays at home.
I can't. All right, we'll leave baseball there. All right, guys, make sure you're going to check out the Voice of College Football merch. That's right, the Voice of College Football does have merch, Clemson merch. So I hope you guys will go over there, check it out, get yourself something nice, and you will be supporting Jordan and me right here on the channel as well, and getting yourself some VOCFB memorabilia. So got hats, shirts, tumblers, coffee mugs, koozies, all sorts of stuff over there. So go check it out. VOCFB-shop. That's VOCFB-shop. Go check it out. Get yourself something nice and help support the show. We appreciate you. Jordan, last thing we'll talk about, we already hit on them a little bit. Softball on a roll. These girls are starting to figure it out, man. A lot of freshmen stepping up. You got Bro over there at third base, kind of took over that spot. So Collins has shifted to second. You got Pavisi, freshman first baseman, kind of asserted herself, one of the best hitters on the team right now. You got the transfer in Brockenbrough, who's absolutely killing it. Manis being that solid, steady pitcher that we've needed. So they're just starting to figure it out, Jordan. They've had their moments where they've kind of looked not great so far this season, but they've kind of really started coming into their own as of late, winning every single ACC series that they've played so far. So winning the series against Georgia Tech and winning the series against Louisville as well. So the girls are doing well. Just run ruled South Carolina in the bottom or in the sixth inning. So they end that game early, winning 8-0. So shout out to them on sending the Gamecocks packing and not allowing them to get a run. But they got Florida State coming in this weekend, Jordan, and we know the absolute struggle that it has been for Clemson softball when it comes to Florida State. It's like the juggernaut that we can't seem to get over the hump on. So big series this weekend, but again, a softball team that's going into the weekend playing extremely well.
Yeah. Well, and here's the hope. I mean, you did break through in the ACC tournament last year, so I mean, maybe that means that things will be a little bit different, in the regular season, because you haven't been able to slay that dragon yet in the regular season.
Yeah, you did kind of exercise that demon in the ACC tournament last year, though.
Yeah. So. But yeah, going to be a very tough series, but very happy with how they've started to settle in, starting to see some consistency. Like, we knew this team had it in them. I mean, we saw in at the beginning of the year, just kind of, what the ceiling of this team is. And obviously last year was great with how they closed the year. But you knew that this team had the talent. That wasn't the issue. It was, I think, teams just, the team just kind of settling into their roles and just getting more comfortable, playing more consistent. And it's just translated to wins. They're not like, overpowering people. I mean, obviously, but they went up to Notre Dame and, took 2 or 3. I mean, that's all you can ask for. The men couldn't do that. So, shout out to.
No, they could not.
Them. Yeah, I mean, winning series is what's important, especially when you're talking about the conversation for, for seeding and all of that, and the of course in the ACC tournament, but especially in the NCAA tournament, because maybe taking 2 or 3 is not going to get you the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament, but taking 2 out of 3 for over the course of the conference schedule is going to look pretty good when it comes to having conversations about hosting and things like that.
That's right.
And I don't expect this team to win every series they play, but you get what I'm saying. Like they're doing the right things right now, largely.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely playing good softball. The lineup is just mashing the ball right now, man. They're hitting really well, top to bottom in the lineup. So hopefully they can keep that going this weekend and get a series win over the Florida State Seminoles and continue their run of winning ACC series. All right, Jordan, that does it for the planned portion of the show tonight. Time to turn it over to the people, see what they're talking about, and respond to their comments and questions.
Yeah, let's do it. I saw a comment earlier. Isaac asked Jordan, you and Tiger Paul went to Union County. No, I didn't. I did not go to Union County in South Carolina.
I did not.
I'm talking about Union County, North Carolina. But both North Carolina and South Carolina have a Union County. But I'm talking about North Carolina's Union County. So no. Let's see. Oh yeah, John mentions Will Wade. Yeah, the Will Wade drama has been really there's some real smoke behind that too. So yeah, even more my point about coaching vacancies and all of that this off season. This was not the people that are ready to run off Brad Brownell. I'm like, well, I mean, good luck going and getting the top coach. And that's not to say that like Brad is infallible or that he needs to doesn't need to tweak some things, but I mean you've been to your 3rd straight tournament. I mean that's something that's only been done a few times in school history.
Yeah, I don't think if you're Clemson you go firing a coach that is doing that.
Yeah, this is not we are not Chapel Hill. We are not Duke. We don't. There are a lot of.
You're never newsflash too. You're never going to be.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of things in basketball, particularly, that makes Clemson at a disadvantage compared to some of their counterparts in the ACC. So the fact that they're as competitive as they are is a testament to how good of a coach Brad Brownell is. And I mean, do I think the program could get to another level? I do. So like I don't want people to think that like I'm one of those like people that is just like they should never strive for more, but like I think the expectation has to be set to what the level of investment from the administration is. And I'm not just talking about facilities. Yeah, they've invested a ton in facilities. They've put that kind of money in the program, but and I talked about this before. I mean, the name of the game is talent acquisition right now, and Clemson is not going to have the most talented roster in the ACC with what they spend, with what they have to spend on players. They're just not going to be. And I think Brad has done a good job of, with limited resources of getting guys that fit his system. And this team ended up being way better than we all thought they might be because of it. So,
Right.
if you give him a larger chest, war chest to work with, maybe he does go get a top transfer. Maybe he does go get, put together a roster that you would say is more talented than some of his previous ones. Because this team just flat out wasn't that talented. There's some good players. Talent and being good are not necessarily the same thing. You had some good players, but you didn't have talent by any means. There are a couple of players. I mean, a few players that were high on, but they were young. And your most important players are guys that are not going to hear their name called in on NBA, and you're not going to see them on any NBA mock drafts. That's for sure. So, I think, like I said, you got to apportion your expectations to the level of investment that the program gets. So
Yep.
that's one thing this fan base has to learn how to do. Intelligent Savage, thank you for joining us tonight. He says, salute my Clemson Tigers family in chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. CJ says, am I thankful we lost round one and escaped a route to Don Staley? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I did think about that. I mean,
it wouldn't have gone well.
It wouldn't. But at the same time, I still would have liked the win. I mean, you're a growing program. Getting an NCAA tournament win in year 2 is, I mean, that's something to sell on the recruiting trail, no matter how badly. I mean, listen, what's one more loss to South Carolina at this point? And
right.
I mean, I know that's crazy to say as you don't want to lose to South Carolina in anything, but I mean,
it's not close.
Yeah. I mean, what would it really wouldn't change anything. Like if Clemson had won and got blown out by South Carolina, I mean, I don't think that would change the perception of the program in a negative light. I mean, they're just flat out way better than you right now.
Walking into that game, everybody's going to expect you to get blown out. So.
Right. So. And I mean, as they didn't even they lost by 20 points or something this year, but that was the most competitive I've seen them against Don Staley's South Carolina teams in quite some time. So, hey, like I said, I think you are heading in the right direction, but you're still a ways away from them. I mean, that's a perennial championship contender. So that just is what it is. Isaac asked about men's soccer. And I haven't, that's a good question. I haven't really kept up with who they've added this year, but I mean, listen, I'm just kind of one of those people that's like, I expect them to be pretty good. I mean, this past season was pretty disappointing. But I generally expect Mike Noonan to field a really, really good team that's going to compete for the ACC. I'm not too worried about that program. Men's soccer is the sport at Clemson that they kind of let him do his thing, and kind of they're kind of hands off, but they support him because he goes and gets players. I mean, Clemson is one of the top men's soccer programs in the country. So I mean, it's one of those programs that kind of, I mean, with a guy like Mike Noonan at the helm, just kind of recruits itself. I mean, you're always going to expect to have, top players, guys that are going to hear their names called in the Major League Soccer draft, or they're going to go overseas. I'm never too worried about it. Yeah, if Purify isn't back for the UNC series, that's going to be miserable. Yeah, I mean, this weekend might be miserable without him. Tiger Tom says, apparently not having time to keep up with baseball lately has been a blessing in disguise. Was just now able to tune in here. Yeah.
You ain't missing anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you had started keeping up at the beginning of the year, you would have thought this team was about to go to Omaha, but now it's the warts have presented themselves. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I really do hope. I mean, Eric Bakich hasn't seemed concerned. He says he thinks they're going to be fine and go on a run, and that's good and all. But right, these results have not been promising. There's just no way to spin it. And again, I mean, honestly, I still. I mean, that being said, I still, in the long term, still believe in Eric Bakich. I mean, maybe some people are starting to have doubts, and I think that's fair. But I do think there's some changes that he needs to make. But I think Eric Bakich is a phenomenal coach. I mean, I I think Clemson has a good one. I mean, his resume to this point, not just at Clemson, but through the course of his career, indicates that. I don't think he just came to Clemson and and suddenly became a bad coach. But I do think there are some things that he's got to tweak, because yeah, I mean, this is your fourth season, fifth.
Yep.
Yeah, and the results right now are honestly the worst they've been since the beginning of your first year. Right now, like
Yeah,
this
I
is the
mean, it's
worst.
just
This is
not.
the worst I've seen them play collectively since the beginning
Yeah,
of his first season.
it's not good enough right now.
Yeah,
But I'm with you. I still think he's the right guy. But this team right now looks like they got a long way to go to figure
yeah.
it out.
Coastal is the best baseball team in South Carolina right now. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I don't know if it's close either. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, they certainly look the best right now.
All right. Will Clemson have a spring game, and if so, will it be televised? Yes, Clemson has a spring game this Saturday. Will it be televised? No,
No,
unfortunately.
it will not. Unfortunately, for the second year in a row, because you know what, Jordan, I want to find whoever was the first person that was like, if somebody watches our spring game, they're gonna come steal my players or figure something out. Like, I want to find that person and shut them down before they ever utter that nonsense into the ether.
Yeah,
And now it's spread like wildfire. What's their excuse now, though? Why are we not televising spring games now?
right.
There's no transfer portal after spring. So if somebody does find somebody on your roster they want, technically they can't go nowhere.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I guess
That's a very good question.
I guess they could always pull the whole Wisconsin thing where the player just unenrolls and then goes and rolls at another school and plays
That's
football.
true.
Like, I guess that could happen. Yes.
Yeah.
But if they're going to do that, I mean, do you really want them on your team anyway?
Good point.
I mean, I'm sick of the so and so team might see. Okay, like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm there's little things in college football, Jordan, that really irk my nerves, and the sudden shift that we saw last year in no televised spring games, and some people canceling spring games, and some people doing a freaking field day instead of a spring game and playing stupid game. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, really? Come on. It's your one opportunity to have a game in front of fans that fans can come to for free, right? Those fans that can't afford to come to games normally because college football ticket prices are freaking out of control. And they can't even do that for the fans because nothing in college football is about the fans. It's about how much money they can make, and that is it.
100%.
Irritates me. Really irritates me. Somebody's going to magically watch your spring game, and that's somehow going to affect a game in fall. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I'll pretend like I believe that. Somebody might get hurt. Are they not going to get hurt in regular spring practice? Like, what are we talking about? It's football. People get hurt. It happens.
Exactly. Where do y'all rank Clemson this preseason in the ACC? Do y'all think y'all can compete? I mean, we'll certainly have our full Clemson predictions and all that. Where does Clemson rank in the ACC this season? I mean, conservatively, this is I still think you're probably maybe a top half team in the ACC, top third.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that going to be good enough to compete for the ACC? I don't.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable saying that right now.
if you ask me right now, in March, um, if Clemson's going to be in the ACC championship game this year, I would not be surprised. Like, no, for them to
Yeah.
not be in, right? Like, I don't have any amount of faith or any amount of confidence that would cause me to be like, yes, Clemson is going to be in the ACC championship game this year.
Yeah.
I don't right now. I don't believe that at all. There's a lot of questions on this team. Do I think we're still in like the top third of the league? Yeah, just based off of sheer talent. Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah.
Does that mean we'll end up in the top third of the league? No.
Yeah.
Last year was supposed to be the year for Clemson, and
Yeah.
look what happened. Um, did they go to the ACC championship game? No.
None in
They were
close.
supposed to compete for a national title. They couldn't even make it to the ACC championship. So, um, no, I don't like. If you're asking me to make a prediction right now, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
No, they will not be in the ACC championship game.
All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll get on out of here for tonight. Ron says it looks like NIL has done its intended purpose, which was to kill Clemson football. Clemson's brand was to appeal to players based on family and player development. That's out the window now. I mean, I think that's I think it's an over exaggeration. I mean, I don't think NIL is. I mean, obviously Clemson has had its own struggles with NIL, but like I don't think like that's killed your brand. That's what's killed your brand. I mean, I think there's been a lot of you know there's been a lot of factors that have played into where you are now. Um, and pointing to the NIL boogeyman, I mean, I think it's true. It's true, but it's also kind of like
Yeah,
maybe a quarter of the story.
yeah. I think I think that's an oversimplification of
Yeah,
what Clemson's problems have been in football over the past 3, 4, 5 years, whatever you want to call it, right? NIL has certainly been an issue. There's no doubt about it. Like
yeah,
NIL has affected Clemson in a negative way. I don't think anybody who pays attention could tell you differently. It has certainly affected Clemson in a negative way because part of his statement is true. Like Clemson always recruited based off of family and player development, and we're going to develop you as a person, and you're going to have the opportunity to have a great career when football's over, and we're going to set you up with all these things, and so on and so forth, right?
mhm,
And all of those things I think still resonate with a lot of recruits. However, the conversation is always going to start with money.
yep,
That's just the world of college football we live in. Like it, hate it. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. So that is a huge difference that NIL brought in. But I still think all that other stuff that Clemson recruits on matters to some degree. How much? I guess that depends on the individual recruit. Um, and you're still going to have to get in ballparks when it comes to money because if not, they'll just come offer a whole lot of money that you're not willing to offer and take your player, as we've seen. But we won't rehash that.
we won't rehash that.
But it's just one of the problems that have plagued Clemson football. One of the pieces to the puzzle that has been Clemson's undoing as of late.
Very true. You guys working on some off-season guests. Having William Cockrell would be a good fun time. Wonder if Mac Lane would come on. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, William it would be a really good one. Happened, and I have a connection with him, so I could get him and Dustin Black. We need to do a collab with the Tiger Den podcast. That'd be cool. I
Yeah.
don't know if either one of them are listening right now, but that would be pretty dope. So. Yeah, but we're definitely working on getting some guests here in the near future. So y'all stay tuned for that. Might even have one next week.
Hopefully, have one next week.
Yeah. So y'all stay tuned for that. and get some, especially post spring game. It would be really, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, absolutely. And y'all let us know and give us suggestions about who you would like to see on the show as well, dude. So
Yeah, if you want to see somebody be a guest on the show, let us know.
yeah.
And we won't make any promises, but we'll certainly reach out and see if they
Yeah.
want to come on.
Some guys might be too big for us. You never
Hey, we just some little guys over here. It's okay.
yeah.
Coach Coop, that's a good one.
That's a very good one. Yeah, we had to bring him on for we do play Miami this year in the regular season, so that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for us tonight. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that have tuned in. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Could not do this without you guys. Obviously, we'd just be kind of yapping to the void if we didn't have anybody watching us. So thank you guys, seriously, from the bottom of our hearts. And thank you for helping us reach 6,000 subscribers. That's been really cool to see. And of course, thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel, for sponsoring the show, keeping us afloat, and just being a really, really big presence in the Voice of College Football Network and keeping our network running strong. So thank you guys, and make sure you guys support them, FanDuel Sportsbook. Check out the latest lines. I already have a 3-leg parlay for this weekend in the Sweet 16 that I am going to be sweating out. But y'all go and check them out because they are doing a lot of stuff for March Madness, including bonus bets. So y'all make sure to get on in there and take advantage of that. So TPC, do you have any parting shots for the people before we get on out of here?
No, shout out to all the channel members. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for that support. Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. Go win yourself some free money over there with our friends over there at FanDuel. And look forward to next week, guys. Hopefully we'll have a guest on so that we can break down the spring game. So I know it won't be televised, guys, but we'll have the latest and greatest intel that we can possibly gather for you guys, and we'll be right here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. to break down all things Clemson football, everything that happened in the spring game. So make sure you guys are here 8 p.m. next Tuesday. Until then, guys, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.